Hello, I'm Gail, a 26-year-old woman who just got to celebrate her 5th anniversary with the love of her life, Peter. But of course, there always needs to be something in the way of us having a good time, and this time it was my mother-in-law, Jen. Before that, though, I need to introduce you to my husband, Peter. Peter and I met when we were sophomores in college. We were at a frat party when we happened to meet. We got to talking, and it was truly the first time that I actually liked someone. I had just gotten out of a relationship that made me very miserable before I met Peter, and meeting him made me feel like there was hope for me. Anyway, we went on a date after our first meeting. That was truly one of the best moments of my life. I had never laughed harder before that, and it was when I knew that Peter was going to be the one I was going to marry. Thankfully, after about 3 years of dating, we decided to get married. I know what you must be thinking. You just graduated college. At least give yourselves time to adjust to the big world. To that, all I have to say is when you know you want to spend the rest of your life with, nothing else matters. We knew we wanted to face whatever the big world threw our way together. One of the things the big world threw at us was Peter's mother, Jen. Now, Jen was a very overprotective person. Peter had lost his dad when he was in middle school, and that made Jen very apprehensive of anyone who entered their lives. She was generally very cautious of everyone because she never wanted to feel the kind of loss she felt when her husband died. I guess that's what made me empathize with her a lot and put up with all her antics. Jen made it very clear from the first time we met that she did not like nor approve of me for Peter. She looked at me with so much disgust the first time I walked into her home, and then proceeded to make snarky comments about everything I said. It was jarring to be treated that way, not to mention super hurtful. But Peter stood up for me and told Jen to treat me nicely or he'd walk out. Jen was nicer after that, but I could tell that her dislike for me only grew more after that. I still remember the conversation that Peter and I had after the first time I met Jen. "I'm so sorry for the way my mom behaved today." No, it's okay." "It's absolutely not okay. I don't want you to be okay with anyone, and I mean anyone, ever treating you this way." "Oh, Peter, thanks a lot, darling, but it really is okay. I mean, your mother is probably just being overprotective. Still, that is no way for her to treat you. But what if it's her way of testing me to see if I would stay with you no matter what? Then I think that it is just a sorry excuse to be mean without consequence." "What consequence would she face?" "I would stop talking to her. If she can't treat the person I love with respect, I see no reason for her to talk to me." "Darling, you can't do that. It would break her." "Why would I only care about her when she doesn't care about me?" "Come on, just give her a chance, okay? I'm the one she's hurting first, and I'm okay with it. Don't leave her." "I'm not leaving right away, but I will give her a few chances, only because you asked for it." "Thanks, darling. Seriously, for everything." "Of course, my love. I'm being serious when I say that if she does do something that is too messed up to apologize for, I'm cutting all contact with her. If she does something like that, which I doubt she will, I promise you that I'll be on your side no matter what decision you take. I'll go with you." That conversation was a particularly important one for me because it showed me just how much I meant to Peter. I knew about it, of course, but to see him actually act on it made me feel so loved. But it was also because I loved Peter so much that I wanted him to have his mother in his life. I couldn't bear the thought of me being the reason his only family broke away from him. I will admit that things only got worse after that. For starters, Jen decided it would be a good idea to insult me in her toast to Peter and me at our wedding. Thankfully, we had security that quickly took the mic away from her and escorted her off the venue. Peter was livid, but because I begged him to continue talking to his mother, he still spoke to her. Jen didn't like that she got thrown out of the wedding, so she took to commenting under all of our wedding posts about how we were never going to last and how she only wished the worst for us. We restricted our comments after that, but I will say that I had a lot of embarrassing conversations about her with my family. Peter and I decided to go into close contact with Jen. It wasn't what I wanted, but even I recognized just how much damage she was doing to my self-esteem and overall mental health. We never reached out to Jen, but we did respond to Jen whenever she actually needed us. I say actually needed us because Jen never stopped harassing me over text. Every other day or so she texted me insults and reminded me that she never approved of me, so I was not worth her son's time. It hurt, but I never blocked her because I figured she just needed time to come to terms with the fact that her son was all grown up now. That was essentially what my first year of being married to Peter was like. But then, Jen slowly started calming down in her approach to me, at least over time. Whenever we met her in person for the holidays or birthdays, she would never fail to try and hurt me emotionally. On my third Christmas with Peter after being married, I invited my parents to stay with us, and Peter and I hosted dinner. We invited Jen to dinner as well because it only felt right to. Jen decided that then was the perfect time to humiliate me in front of everyone. She had a lot to drink and she was only making the atmosphere awkward. So Peter and I pulled her aside into Peter's office to talk things out. "Mom, you need to pull yourself together. I may be drunk, but I'm still speaking the truth. Since you're only speaking the truth, tell me, Jen, why do you hate me?" "Gail, I don't think now is a good..." No, since she wants to humiliate me in front of my parents, the least she can do is tell me why she hates me so much. No need to get angry. I would have gladly told you even if I was sober. You're not good for my son, that's it. In what way am I not good enough for Peter? Well, for one, you're ugly as hell, and you're not smart. Neither are you rich. You have nothing going for you. That is it, Mom. You either accept that I love her, or you leave us alone. I've been tolerating your nonsense only because Gail has been begging me for years to not let you go. She's been so scared of you getting hurt that she's been putting up with it. There's only so long I can sit back and watch her get hurt by you. Get out of my house, and if you don't get your act together, never come back. The revelation that I had been the reason that Peter still talked to her must have touched a nerve for her, because after that she became a lot more tolerable. Of course, there was the odd jab here and there, but it was all bearable. That was how it was for the next 2 years. And then things changed drastically. Jen had suddenly taken a bit too much interest in me. I mean, she suddenly began acting really nice to me, and she was always asking me questions about the things I liked and disliked. I was happy about it at first, but I had this nagging feeling in my gut that this was just part of one of her many tactics to harm me. I tried my best to be positive about it and ignore my gut instincts, although things began to take a weird turn when suddenly Jen was calling me 2 to 3 times a day to catch up. It didn't matter what the time was, she would just suddenly call. I didn't know how to deal with that either. I tried to be nice about it at first, but then it got really annoying. There was only so much I could say. If she called to talk to me about herself, I wouldn't mind. But she always made me talk. She would ask me all sorts of questions. It almost felt like she was trying to find out something. I couldn't figure out what she wanted to know, though, because all her questions were completely unrelated to each other. Like, for example, she would ask me what my deepest fear was one minute, And then the next, it would be if I could date one celebrity, who would it be? It was always a mix of the weirdest questions. Most, though, were insanely personal. I tried my best to keep things to myself. Eventually I stopped saying much and instead insisted on me being either too busy or tired to talk. So Jen did the next best thing in her mind. She pestered Peter in the same way. Of course, since she was his mother, Peter was a lot more open about talking back to her and telling her to stop calling so frequently and to talk about me. Of course, all of Jen's behavior confused Peter as well, and he approached me about it. "Hey, do you have any idea about why my mom is calling me to talk about you?" Honestly, no clue. She had been calling me every day for the past week, like 2 to 3 times a day, just to ask me questions. That's weird, right? I mean, do you think she's apologetic for how she used to treat you? I guess. But the way she's approaching it seems oddly like she has something up her sleeve. What do you mean? I don't know what kind of questions she's asking you, but she's been asking me a lot of personal questions. I don't really remember all the questions she's asked me, but at some point she did ask me about your medical history. My medical history? What on earth does she want to do with that information? I have no idea. I only told her that you were allergic to soy, which, funnily enough, is what she's allergic to as well. Oh, I mean, I don't see why she's being so nice, yet invasive, but it's not actively harming me, so it's okay. Yeah, but I will still tell her to get off our backs. Thanks, babe. I will admit that she did put me on edge a lot this month. Like, dealing with her calls at the time was exhausting, especially because this was such a huge shift in character on her part. Oh yeah, I can definitely imagine that. Jen stopped calling as much after that. She only called Peter once a week to check in on him, and that was it. It was a huge relief to not have to deal with her again. I mean, I was appreciative of her decision to make amends if that was what she was doing, but at the same time, when one has gone through so much because of somebody, it takes a lot of time to forgive and forget. But I did hold out hope that her trying meant that it was the start of a better and stronger relationship with her. Around this time, Peter and I were only 1 month away from our 5th anniversary. We wanted to celebrate it because even though we had been together for 3 years before we got married, hitting the 5-year mark in marriage is still a big deal. We decided to host a barbecue and taco party in our backyard because those were both our favorite foods. We also decided to invite all of our closest family to join in the celebration along with some of our friends. In total, there were about 30 people invited. We were excited to spend some quality time with them, and we worked really hard to make sure that the celebration would be a success. Of course, Jen was once again acting pretty weird. She kept calling Peter to talk about me, and she kept asking if I was doing okay. She also kept talking about how it was a miracle that we lasted so long because she always thought that we wouldn't even make it past the 1-year mark. The one thing that stood out to both of us was how she kept mentioning that it would be a shame if our anniversary got ruined by some mishap. I don't know if that was her trying to warn us about her scheme or if she was just being plain stupid, but there were alarm bells going off in both Peter's and my heads. I knew that all of her calls were not for nothing and that we needed to do something in case she did something drastic. We decided to put up hidden cameras everywhere in the house and in our backyard too, because we knew that if there was going to be sabotage on Jen's side, then she would do it in plain sight. I did feel bad for kind of undermining her new interest in getting to me, but I also knew this was only my way of protecting myself and ensuring that nothing bad happened in case things went south. On the day of the anniversary celebration, Peter and I were having a blast. We got to drink and eat with our families. It was overall one of the best days of my life. That was how I felt until Jen approached me while I was in the kitchen refilling the jug of water that was meant for us. Hey, Gail. Oh, hey, Jen. It's been a while, huh? Yeah, happy anniversary. Thanks, I've been really lucky to have been able to share all these years with Peter. Yeah, I do wish that you didn't. Excuse me? You know that I completely disapprove of you. I think my son can do so much better than you. Well, you're entitled to your own feelings, but that won't change reality. That is true, but I feel like I'll be able to do something about reality. Huh? What do you mean? I just want you to know that I only want what's best for Peter. Whatever or whoever comes in between that, I will remove them. You sound really creepy. Whatever you want to say, just say it clearly, Jen. Never mind, just forget I said anything. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your time. I was super weirded out. Jen sounded like she wanted to literally get rid of me, and I became paranoid about it. There was something seriously wrong with Jen to do and say things like that. I spent the rest of the evening watching all her actions with intense scrutiny. I tried my best to enjoy my time, but I couldn't shake off my paranoia. Peter noticed and tried to pull me aside to talk about it, but I refused to move to a place where I couldn't watch Jen. Peter figured that something was really wrong, but decided to wait until everyone left to ask me. He took over hosting properly and let me focus on what I was doing. And that was when I saw Jen spike my food. When it came time to serve the food, Jen insisted on plating all the food. I felt like something was off, so I stood a little away but behind a few people and watched her. Everyone was too busy talking and having a good time to actually pay attention to Jen. Jen served everyone else first, and then it was only left to the two of us. Jen pulled out a vial, uncapped it, and poured the liquid in it into my bowl when she thought no one was looking. I walked up to her and grabbed my bowl. She insisted I eat it and tell her if everything was perfect. I looked at the bowl and realized that I couldn't actually tell what the vial contained. Whatever liquid was in it blended perfectly with the barbecue sauce. I asked her to grab me some hot sauce, and when she turned her back, I quickly switched my plate with hers. Jen got back to me with the hot sauce and began insisting that I eat my plate. I told her that I would, but I needed to go talk to someone and quickly made my exit. I didn't touch my plate of food though, because I was genuinely too scared to do it. A few minutes later, there was a huge commotion outside. I had gone inside to discard the food on my plate. I rushed outside to see everyone stressed out about Jen, who had seized up and gone into anaphylactic shock. Peter rushed back in to grab an EpiPen while my mom called an ambulance. Peter stabbed the EpiPen into Jen's thigh, and a moment later, we went with her in the ambulance to the hospital. At the hospital, Jen was rechecked and given some anti-allergens. She remained there for another few hours. By then, we had informed everyone that Jen was okay, so everyone decided to go back to their respective homes. Peter and I took Jen back home when she was discharged. When we got there, Jen turned to me and pointed her finger at me. "You did this." "Excuse me?" "You did something to my food. I just know you did." "Jen, why in the world would I willingly put your life at risk?" "Because you hate me." "Mom, that's enough." No, you don't see it, Peter. This woman has poisoned your mind against me. She's made you think that I'm some insatiable freak who's out to get her. But look at what she did." "Jen, I would never do something like this to you. Peter himself knows I've actually been appreciative of your efforts to mend our relationship. Why would I do something like that to you? You didn't like me calling you and trying to get to know you better." "I did." "Oh, really? Is that why you are always too busy to talk? If I have to admit, your calls did get a little too frequent and invasive, but that doesn't mean that I'd poison your food. Liar. Enough. Stop it, both of you. We have cameras in our home. Let me just review the footage. Wait, cameras? Jen's face paled. I had been so caught up with everything happening that I didn't even stop to think about what may have caused the allergic reaction. It was then that I remembered Jen pouring something into my dish and me switching plates. There was only one allergy that I knew that we had in common: soy. I watched as Jen grew still and Peter pulled out his phone to go over the footage. Thankfully, the place that we were standing in was directly in front of the camera and all of Jen's actions were clear. You could see her pouring her vial of liquid into the plate that she handed to me, and then me switching plates. Peter turned to his mother in rage. Jen immediately tried to backtrack. It's not what it seems like, I swear. Oh, really? Because from what I can see, you tried to harm Gail and instead got a taste of your own medicine. She knew that something was wrong, so she switched her plate with me. She knew it was harmful, yet she chose for me to take the downfall, and now I have all these medical bills to pay. It's all because of her. Are you even hearing yourself? You sound insane. The only person you have to blame for your medical bills is yourself. How can you say that? I want her to pay for it. Gail will do no such thing. You tried to hurt her. She would have been in the same place as you. Do you really not feel guilty for doing something so horrible? I have no reason to feel guilty about anything. I was only trying to do what was best for you. You thought what was best for me was to see my wife almost die? It was just a little soy sauce. Come on. Right. It was so little that you almost died as well. You know what? I'm done with you. I never want to see you or hear from you again. If you try to approach Gail or me from here on, I will have a restraining order made against you. Peter grabbed my hand and we walked out. My heart was racing at the thought of me being in Jen's position. My soy allergy is much more intense than hers is, and only I know how painful it is. I couldn't believe that someone could do something as atrocious as that. I knew that she didn't like me, but to actually try to almost kill me was crossing a huge line. I was still pretty shaken up about it after we came back home, but Peter was by my side through it all. He apologized for everything that happened, but of course, I told him he didn't have anything to apologize for. Peter and I went out the next day, just the two of us, to redo our anniversary celebration, which was without any drama or fear. Things after that calmed down. Jen did try to call and text us a lot, but we blocked her. She showed up at our door demanding that we pay for her huge medical bill. We told her that we would not do anything of that sort, to which she threatened to take legal action against her. That was a pretty stupid threat, considering we had actual proof of her trying to hurt me. We shut the door in her face and we filed for a restraining order against her. Peter and I are doing great now. We are moving to another state next month, and I'm honestly happy to be away from Jen. I never have to see or interact with her again, and that is enough consolation for me.